Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is the Pet Detectives radio show broadcast here with your host, evidential medium, animal communicator, Pamela Marie Edmunds. And I am broadcasting to you from Sedona, Arizona with the red rocks. And we just came out of a bit of a monsoon, which is very, very unique for myself coming from the East Coast, and a lot of you who listen are from the East Coast too. And basically, they start putting up flash warnings, people not to go and drive in areas where the water is running. I mean, anyway, I would think I would know not to myself, but anyway, that's the way it is. But it comes down, and you see lightning bolts here and lightning bolts there, and sometimes you get a little hail, so it's even though we get up to 100 degrees, when we have this wonderful little bit of a monsoon, and that's going to run for the next month, it kind of brightens things up. It lightens things up. And I personally enjoy watching the rain performance is like I want to call it, okay? So tonight, I'm here for the Pet Detectives radio show. I just want to introduce myself a little bit and then bring on our guest who was patiently waiting here, looking beautiful is what I want to say.
Thank you.
We'll chuckle about that. It's a little bit of an inside joke. And so I am your host of this particular radio show, the Pet Detectives radio show. And the show runs weekly at the same time via Zoom. Once the show has been completed, recorded, I transfer it to YouTube. So people can listen to it at any time they want. They can share it with friends, loved ones. It's just an opportunity for it to get out there and first off, to share the wonderful wisdom and knowledge we get from the different guests, the different topics, but also to help people who are seeking. And this is really what these shows are all about. I do two shows, this one and Love Never Dies, which was last night. You can find that also on YouTube. If you go to my website, PamelaMarieEdmunds.com, what you will find there is one page for each show. The Zoom information, the meeting number, and the password are there for each show because they are different. But each show, if you watch, say you watch this show here tonight, the codes that you use to get into Zoom are also workable for next week's Pet Detectives radio show. So I guess I want to touch real quick, what are pet detectives? And this we're going to get into here with our guest. Pet detectives are a group of, I'm going to say, highly sensitive individuals who have refined those sensitivities. And what they've been refined to is animal communication, talking to animals, finding out how these animals are, any sort of behavior issues. But also, it's gone one step further, and that's where the detective piece comes in. Many people, their animals just disappear. How many people have lost a cat and never seen it again, never knew what happened to it? Or the dog took off, but was doing it in a place the dog did not know. So, of course, it's pretty scary for a pet parent. So what happens is, we as a group work with different levels of our, I'm going to say our skills, our sensitivities, to assist in tracking down these animals. And some of us are capable of doing mediumship too, which is pet communication with the other side. Or I like to call it pet mediumship is what I like to call it. Or pet spirit communication, something in that realm. Because the bottom line is the pet still here or is the pet on the other side? And it's quite a unique ability to do. So our guest tonight is Mari Cartagenova, and Mari is in the Boston area of Massachusetts. Is that clear enough for you, dear?
Yep.
Close enough? Okay. And Mari and I connected through this group of pet detectives that have gathered together. And Mari is a psychic medium. Matter of fact, she's won several awards. Am I correct, Mari?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to share some of those? What have you got?
Sure. I've won a fabulous feedback award winner, psychic of the month. I'm part of the Best American Psychics, and they have Psychic of the Month, of the Week, of the Year. So I've won that a number of times.
Right.
Featured blogger. There's been a number of awards, which I'm very grateful for.
And you have the talent of animal communication.
Yes.
Yes. And I know you studied with some of the, what should I say? Some of the elite teachers in the way of honing your skills.
Absolutely.
Have I touched most of what we want to touch? Maybe we want to mention PDI, Pet Detectives International, or Pet Detectives Inc. There's a couple versions here we got going, but the whole point is it connects you to those of us who can find out if your pets are around and what's happening. So how did you get into this animal work? I know you're an animal lover. Does that tie into it? I bet it does.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much for having me on your program. I appreciate it. And yes, as Pamela mentioned, I'm a psychic, a medium, an animal communicator, and I'm also a finder of lost pets.
Yep.
What I like to say, I'm also a best-selling author. There's the book that I'm part of. I actually should have had a copy with me so I could hold it up. It's called Heaven Sent. And it's a collection of stories about animals who have touched our hearts in miraculous ways. And it's available on Amazon. You can also get a copy through me if you want a signed copy, but it's readily available on Amazon or other booksellers. And that was a really fun project. And I believe you're asking about how I got into working with animals. You know, that's a good question. I mean, as everyone is, I think, an animal lover, and we have pets. And when I started working as a medium, there's some type of, I don't know what to say, a stigma or a feeling in the spiritual community that sometimes it's difficult to work with animals. And when I found this out, you know, some people say, oh, I don't do that, you know, that's too hard or something. And I was thinking, like, why would it be any harder than working with spirit? And so I basically just tried it. And for me, the way that I connect with animals is very much the way that I connect with people. You know, it's that energetic soul to soul connection. And, you know, and that's what I've been doing. And obviously I've certainly studied, like you mentioned, I've studied with James Van Praagh and Tony Stockwell and Lord Rainbow and Lisa Williams. And, you know, for me, I was thinking if I was going to study with anybody, it might as well be the best people I could find, you know?
Yes.
And so just through years of honing my craft, it was just became apparent to me that my connection to animals is very strong. And I just started to do it. And now that's probably about 50% of my business is working directly with animals that have crossed, animals that are here. And then also there's the lost animal component as well.
Yes, yes. How many animals do you have in your household, I will call it? I heard there's 3 kitties.
Well, we have 3 kitties, and there's probably one lurking around waiting to get into my studio area. And we also have 2 horses. So we love horses in my house. So they're not in my house, although if I could have them in my house, I might.
Right. And I believe you have a talented daughter who works with the horses too, right?
Yeah, she does. And I ride sort of on and off, but in order to be really good, you really need to dedicate a lot of time to that. But yeah, my daughter's won numerous awards and rides all up and down the East Coast. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I love being a horsey mommy. So.
Awesome, awesome. So how do you use your animal communication? Obviously, we've listed a couple ways of doing it to help find lost pets, to help connect with an animal on the other side. I know you've also had some experiences in doing these. Should we say cases? Because we call them a case usually. What can we share to the listeners? We've just begun, and it's like they want to know a little bit more. Like, okay, there's several kitties that are present with their pet parents right now.
Well,
what would you encourage them? What would you encourage them to do?
What I would like to say, and sorry to cut you off there, is pet parents or anybody that's watching this later, what I always tell my clients is that I'm not magical, and what I do, anybody can do.
Yes.
It's just a matter of, if you wanted to be a bodybuilder, you'd cut carbs and go to the gym and lift a lot of weights and things like that. It's a matter of training yourself. So know that all the pet parents that are listening, this is definitely something that you can do as well. So that's number one. The other thing I want to say is that your animals understand you. Sometimes people say, oh, I talk to my dog, haha, that's so funny. But it's like, they do understand. I mean, their understanding might be slightly different than ours. It's like if you talk to a baby, they understand you even though they don't know English or whatever your native language is. So you need to understand that the animals do understand you, and as you're talking to them, sort of keep that in mind. And one of the little tips that I like to give my clients is that if you're leaving and you're going someplace, it's really important, especially when you have anxious animals, to let them know, okay, I'm going to work, I'll be gone for 4 hours, I'll be back at 5 o'clock. So they have an understanding of I don't think their understanding of time is the same as ours. But if you just walk out the door and you're like, see ya, then they can get very anxious because they don't know if you're leaving for a day or for 3 weeks. So it's really important to let them know, like to have the respect for them almost, to let them know that, when you're coming back, so they can settle a little bit in that knowledge.
Yeah, because often people will have their animals greeting them at the door, right?
Yeah, of course. And part of it is like, where the heck have you been? I've been waiting for you and I've been worrying the whole time. I don't know where you were. So, they might probably still meet you at the door, but their energy will be like, I'm so glad you're back. Thanks for letting me know, versus I was very worried and where were you? Like that type of energy. And it is easy to, when you've been doing this a long time, like I have, to pick up those subtle differences in energy as to how the animal is feeling and what they're doing.
Right. Is there any particular behavior you can acknowledge and that comes to mind to you? Maybe one of your pets or another pet that you recently did some work with without having to share who the pet is?
That's right. I don't want to name names. They named names.
Well, confidentiality is one of the
right. Confidentiality, absolutely. But no, there's a cat that I worked with recently that every time either there was stress in the house, people were arguing, or on the flip side of that, and when it was kind of boring and nobody was paying attention to him, he would knock everything over. Now, I know that that's a normal thing, but he wouldn't just knock over like, something small, a pebble or whatever. He would like go to the vase filled with water and knock that over, or a big glass, anything that was big and heavy that could break and cause damage, because he was basically saying, hey, there's a lot of tension in here in the air and it's upsetting me. Or on the flip side of that, it's like no one's paying any attention to me and like I'm sad. So the way they act out is very indicative of how they're feeling. Excuse me. So it's important to pay attention to what your animals are doing, because they're not doing things in a vacuum.
And he was here earlier, Sylvester, who happens to be picture on for this show. He is one of the, I guess, I'm going to call him the mascot because that's what it is. But he's disappeared. But we had a little thing going on earlier, and I know when he starts doing negative things, it's like, Mom, I want your attention. Well, Mom sat down at the computer before she put his food out.
Oh, well, Mom, you can't do
that. No. Sometimes he'll put up with it, but this time he wasn't going to. And what he literally did for I'd say the negative attention, he was looking, telling Mommy, his Mom, you did something wrong. That's why I'm doing this. Yeah. He goes underneath my computer table, and he starts pulling on my cords.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because animals have feelings. Animals have souls, just like we do. And there's no difference, at least in my mind, between the cats and the cows and the horses. They're all, sparks of universal energy. And so they're all the same as us in that way. And it's important to listen to them and not just meet their, I gave you food, I scooped your litter box needs, but also their emotional, psychological, spiritual needs as well, because they have them just like we do.
Right. So for my example I shared there with Sylvester, I'm aware that when he does negative things like that, it's like, he wants my attention. Mommy slipped up. Mommy hasn't done this yet, or something or other to that nature. Oh yeah, big time. So, I know we've got a bunch of cat owners here. What can we share? There's so much about the work with animals, and even we can get into some of the pet detective work too, if you wanted to talk.
Absolutely.
What would you like? What are you feeling you'd like to share about? Excuse me. Yeah, what would you like to share about?
We could talk about the detective piece, but in terms of the communicating with animal piece, I didn't know if you want to talk about, how we both do it, how we both connect, because that was something we shared earlier, off air, was that each animal communicator or medium, they work differently, not, everybody works the same. And that's fine. It's because it's like, you're making the pizza and everybody brings their own ingredient and then you have a wonderful dish.
So basically, how you want to share how you work?
Sure. The way I work, like I said a little bit earlier, is I do work the same way with mediumship. So for me, I'll meditate or I'll get into that really quiet space. And the other thing is I like to tell my clients is that whenever you're in your head and you're thinking in your head, like, have to go to the grocery store or whatever, anytime you feel your energy up here, it's not your soul. It's really more your ego, it's your human, whatever you want to call. So before I work, I'm very aware of sort of like when I'm up here versus take the deep breath and sort of drop down into your heart space. Because for me, that's sort of where the seat of the soul is, and that's where all my work comes from. So I've made some time to make sure that I'm quiet and I get into that space, whether it's meditation or grounding or whatever. And honestly, if I'm working with animals or if I'm working with people, I just sort of send out an energetic message to that soul, whether it's crossed or whether it's here, and say, hey, it's me. I would love to be able to connect with you. Is it okay? That's also an important part that a lot of people forget, is that you just need to ask permission. It's not like you're begging, but like you wouldn't just walk up to someone on the street and start, bump into them or something. You'd be like, hi, excuse me. So it's the same way that I work with the soul on that level, is you want to say, hey, is it okay if I work with you? And then I just ask them, and I've never had an animal or a spirit say no to me yet. So that's good. That's a good place to start. And so I ask that question, and then they start to share information to me. And the way that I perceive information, I'm sure, is not the same way that all other mediums or animal communicators perceive it. But I'm very clairvoyant. So if I'm sitting with a client, I'm usually looking off to my left, because for me, spirit will come in on my left. And when I say that, I see images, pictures, almost like little clips of movies. So I'm not like seeing them with my eyes. I'm seeing them with my spirit eyes or my energetic eyes. And as they drop these little bits in, I talk to the client, and we're able together to interpret like what they're talking about. Like, for instance, today I was working with a person. We're talking about one of her dogs, and this dog kept talking to me about mathematics. And so I was like, and I knew the dog was smart, and I'm like, okay, well, your dog's really smart, but he's showing me a lot of numbers and a lot of math, and like we're trying to figure out like why that's showing me math. And it turns out that his mom, his owner, is a math teacher. So it was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So it's a matter of inviting the spirit in, making the connection, connecting in whatever way you do. You know, I work with my other senses as well, like smelling, hearing, tasting, but primarily I see. And then getting that information and with your client interpreting that information. And that's how I work. And I'm sure, Pamela, you work in a very different way.
Well, for example, Sylvester, way I get information from him is basically he's giving it to me telepathically.
Okay.
I need to be in that nice centered space, like you were talking. I personally have a prayer that I put out and call in all those that the higher beings, etc., and ask for protection, because I want to be protected in the way that I'm receiving from the highest good, and continue in that way. So Sylvester, like, I'm lying in bed one night last week, and I was feeling a little sad. I wasn't feeling good. Okay. And I went to say something. In my mind, I said, I love you, Sylvester, because he's cuddled up right with me.
Aww.
Next thing he's doing, he's licking my fingers. So it's like he's hearing me too and understanding it too. So it's a two-way street. But also at one point, it's like, Mom, it's going to be okay. Because Mom, it's going to be okay. So that's one way of communication here, like direct to the animal, which is very much what you do. My other form of communication is through my spirit dog, Earth Angel. And Earth Angel was really who got me into all of this. In the way of animals. Before that, I was already a practicing medium. I was working at a number of churches, etc. And an animal would pop in once in a while with a loved one. But it wasn't always the focus. But what also happened is I learned how to channel and communicate me, get out of the way totally, and allow someone to communicate through me. Well, after I'd gone through the grieving process with Earth Angel, he started communicating to me, and I saw how much easier it was if I would go quiet and go within. Right. It's like he brings a full-fledged message. Like we had a recent, I'm going to say, check that we do amongst the pet detectives is once in a while, one of us will want to double check with the partners and find out, what did you get? Is this pet here, or is this pet on the other side? We did one just within the past week, Mari, right? Yeah. And there was a total of there's 4 of us, and that with Earth Angel, what I do my prayer, and then I hear from him. If the pet's on the other side, I hear, Mom, he's here with us, or she's with us. Or if they're not, he'll start giving me more other information, validating the animals here. So they all work very different. Matter of fact, one of our teammates, Romy Bueller, who's from Australia, she did a show recently, and it was about how she basically does it intuitively. With vision, it's kind of like what you're doing, but she doesn't think that like flashing. She doesn't believe she's doing it mediumistically. And I need to say, anyway, that's okay. I believe she does do it somewhat mediumistically, but we all do it in different ways. June Elaine Evans, who is the founder of Pet Detectives International, she often will do it, she'll be doing remote viewing, which is a process that many of us mediums have learned or can learn. And basically what we do is we're actually traveling to a place and seeing visions of the animals, what's going on, or a place where they may have been. So, I mean, the list goes on. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because as it's interesting, the way that I work with animals, with their heel or cross is actually different than the way I work with missing animals. Because the way I work with missing animals is similar to what June does. I almost, energetically go to the spot. I connect to the animal in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
However, can you show me where you are? And then they'll take me to a place. And I also work with missing persons as well. And I ask the same thing of their spirit, and they'll show me the scene. They'll show me the woods or wherever it is they are. And then I'm able to walk, the police or the investigators through the scene and show them, they showed me this and this. And part of my work with the missing animals or persons is if they send me videos or pictures, I can usually tell if the animal has been through that spot or is right nearby that spot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of like the remote viewing piece. So it is really different than just the connecting to spirit for just like I'd say, a regular animal reading.
Well, and as you're talking, I'm being reminded, Earth Angel has taken me on a remote viewing too.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Peter Pan scenario where Peter Pan comes to the kid's window and they hold on to him and they fly with him. He's got the power, okay? They don't. So it's like I'm holding on to Earth Angel and we're scanning through the area and verbalizing as we're doing it what's being seen.
Right, exactly. And until you were talking, I didn't really think about how there's a difference between how I work with just regular animal communication versus missing animals. But there is actually a difference, because when they're missing, they take me on a little journey. I started here and then I ended up over here, and they show me along the way like a little path. So yeah, so it was interesting that you brought that up.
Right. And you mentioned too, we've mentioned a couple times mediums. We're talking mediumship in comparison to animal communication. Basically, if you can do one, you can learn to do the other.
Right. Absolutely. Because
and as you touched upon, these are gifts that anybody can learn. They've just got to have the right people to help to unfold them, so to speak. There's a need to let go of controls, so to speak, so that it's like you go with the flow, right?
Yeah.
And the information comes in from a totally different place. It doesn't come from our head.
Right.
It flows in through the right side, is the way I understand it. And obviously it's connected to our heart, as you spoke. So, yeah.
Exactly. So it is really fascinating. And I think the longer, at least for me, that I do this work, it's like it's never the same. I'm always surprised. Don't you find that? Because it's different things come up or different ways of connecting, or it's almost like once one of your clairs, your clairs are your senses in which you're able to connect psychically or mediumistically. And I use a lot of my clairvoyance, but I also will smell things sometimes, or I feel things in my body, or I know things. So different times, your different clairs are stronger than others. And like Pamela just said, it's just a matter of kind of going with it. Like this isn't something you can control. If you think you can control this, it's not going to work. It's a matter of, like I said, breathing in, letting go, and just allowing, and just give what you're getting, because I know, I've been doing this long enough that spirit never wastes a message. So it's just up to you to figure out what they're talking about.
And put yourself in the light. That is huge. Put yourself in the light, however that means for you. You're talking about sitting, meditating. What are we doing in meditation? We're raising our level of consciousness. Yeah. And if we're working with the other side, spirit side of life, they lower their consciousness to be and meet with us so they can communicate through us.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, James Van Praagh talks about running your energy. So whenever I'm doing that, I think often about that, about how it's sort of like building up your own energy. And like Pamela just said, almost projecting it up so that spirit can lower theirs a little bit so we can meet somewhere in the middle. And that is very different than, you know, like if you're watching TV or at the supermarket, like that energetic level is very different. So there, when people say to me, "Oh, do you see spirits around all the time?" I mean, I don't. You know, either I'm working or I'm a normal person. So, like, I literally, not kidding, had the UPS guy come to my house, and he had a package for me, and, you know, it had my business name on it, and he's like, "Oh, who do you see around me?" And I'm like, "No, nobody. Can you just give me my box?" Like, I'm not. So it's not like it is in the movies where, you know, there's spirits flying around everywhere, at least for me, you know, like when I'm working, I elevate and I'm connected. And when I'm not, I'm just a normal person like everybody else. I'm not flying around on unicorns or anything. So.
Well, and I learned the same thing. That's the way to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
To set limits and boundaries with spirit. You know, if spirit's coming in at night, waking you up,
yeah,
that's definitely inappropriate.
Yeah.
And to say no, the bottom line, say no and not accept anything. Closing down after we complete sessions, whether it's a one-on-one session, whether it's with animals, whether it's with people, whatever, closing down. And it's however we choose to do that, whether we close our chakras down, whether we choose to basically thank spirit and do like a closing prayer or something, whatever works for us. Whatever works. No.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is intention. So a lot of people, and, you know, of course, everybody works in their own way, and that's fine. But for me, a lot of it is, it's like, oh, what people have said, oh, well, you know, because I teach classes as well, and, you know, mediumship and animal communication. Or like, well, what if I'm, you know, my teacher told me that I'm spinning my chakra the wrong way or something. I mean, for me, a lot of it is, and maybe for some people that works, but it's the intention. It's the intention of opening, the intention of closing, like Pamela said, of surrounding yourself in the white light and then putting the intention out there. And it's like I tell people, like, you know, my crystals, they're not like magical. They're not like, you know, explode. It's the intention and the connection that you put into them. And that's how it is for everything. And so people need to understand that there's not one right way to do this, and that everybody that does this work, and if anyone who's listening to this starts to do this work, there's not the one right way. Every teacher teaches differently, and you need to find that teacher that you connect with, and that's what's going to work for you.
Right. Or teachers that you connect with.
Teacher, yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like choosing a doctor.
Right.
You may not resonate with this one doctor, but you resonate with another one.
Right.
But the first point I've learned is about teachers is if we're drawn to one, we got to trust that, because that's our intuition telling us there's something there for us to learn. And seeing, working with different teachers, not crazy, like, I mean, you know, maybe a handful or something over the years. My point being is we can learn a lot of different things, and we can pick and choose what works best for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as you grow and develop, and at least for me, I mean, I think it's always important to continue learning, because I don't feel like you've ever, all right, I know everything, I'm done. It's never that case. It's always a matter, like, I continue to mentor with Tony Stockwell, and I continue to take classes just to sort of keep your toe in the water, to keep yourself sharp. And there's always more to learn. And I think as you grow and you develop, you know, you may find new teachers, or you may learn new things from the same teachers. So it's always like it's like a moving bullseye. There's always something new that you can gain from whatever it is you're doing with different teachers.
Well, and being the best that you can be. If you're tired or you're feeling sick, don't do the work.
Right.
Don't get involved with it, because that's when we start the inaccuracies come in. Let's put it that way. Or they can.
Right, absolutely. Although sometimes I've done demonstrations where I felt terrible, I've had like a stomach flu or something, but if you're booked and you have like, a couple hundred people, you can't just be like, good luck with all that. So I have gone on stage feeling sick, but when I'm working, I'm 100% fine because spirit will step in and take care of you. And then when I get back off stage, I might not feel so great, but and obviously you need to know your limits. If you're very ill, of course, you shouldn't be working, but there is, if you have a cold or something you're kind of working through, I've seen a lot of mediums do it because spirit does come in and take care of you while they have a way of protecting you and caring for you while you're working.
Well, they also have healing energies they can bring for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Us working with them working through us, it's a form of some healing we can receive.
Absolutely.
And it's absolutely that's actually what happened for me when I first started doing development circles. It was more about me being in the energies and assisting me in progressing myself. And that's another aspect of this. We need to keep growing and changing within ourselves.
100%, 100%.
That is so important.
Yeah, and I think the animals working, and again, I know a lot of mediums that don't work with animals for, like for some reason. They think it's hard, or I don't know, they're not drawn to it. But for me, working with the animals is not only healing in itself, but there's always lessons. Like I feel like even when I work with the animals, they're always teaching me lessons. Because they, I feel like our animals are our greatest teachers, and, they're kind and patient. And when things are going wrong, they're mirroring us or showing us what's going wrong. And us human beings can be kind of thick sometimes. So we really need their presence to sort of help us develop and evolve more. So, I'm grateful for all my little fuzzy and feathered and hooved friends.
Yeah. So, animals. We got who we got on board here? I saw Carlyn with a beautiful black kitty, I believe. I'm betting Kristen brought forward a cat, or can bring a kitty forward. Is there anybody who's got? Maybe we can start do some questions.
Sure, that'd be great.
And hopefully we can stick with the topics that we've been talking about. Yes, we've done a little bit of talk around mediumship, but some of these people who have these pets and are working on the pet communication are also opening up their mediumistic abilities too, psychic and mediumistic abilities.
Right.
It all kind of comes together.
So I'm going to answer some questions if anybody has like developmental questions or just general, spiritual.
Right. And let them think for a minute, but this is something that's been on my mind for a few minutes. If people want to connect you, I want to make sure that your information gets out there too, Mari. What's your website, sweetie?
My website is mediummari.com. So it's mediummari.com. And right. All my info is on there. I have an Instagram, a Twitter, I have a YouTube, I have a couple of pages on Facebook. So if you get to my website, all that is on there. And, I'd love to hear from anybody. So
awesome. And
I can put it in the chat too, if that would be helpful.
Right. Let me see. Has anybody got either free up your mic and just speak up, or okay, or you can type in a message. Kristina Gail to all. I have one when ready. Go ahead.
Hi guys. Hi.
Unmute your mic. And who's
Can you hear me?
in your arms here in this picture?
Oh, that's Romeo.
Oh, that's Romeo.
Boy. Yes. Mari, I have 3 cats now, 2 Maine Coons that are siblings from the same litter, Greg and Marcia, and one other. One of the Maine Coons, I've been trying to communicate more with them. I think I always communicated better with the dog for some reason. I don't know I don't know why, but Marcia has been going through this spell of every night running around the house crying. I'll come out, I'll say, what's wrong? What do you need? The door's open, you can come in the bedroom. But she just continues, almost like she's like speaking, like you can like, hello, hello, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to figure out like maybe how I can help her if something's bothering her, or I don't know what her issue is or how to deal with it, I guess.
Sure. And sometimes as pet parents, it's hard for us to connect to our own animals. And whenever I tell my
Okay.
they're like, that's why I'm trying to learn this, because I want to, it's not impossible. I mean, I connect with mine, but it's almost the same principle as that's why a doctor doesn't operate on his own child, because you have that like human connection to them.
Yep.
There's all those feelings. But I'm feeling a couple of things as you talk about Marcia. I mean, I feel like sometimes, and I have a one cat that does it sometimes they're just kind of amped up, just like us. Sometimes it's like, whatever, it could be the moon cycle, the energy. Sometimes they just kind of need to get their zoomies out. And since cats are nocturnal creatures,
Okay.
is that because they could be chasing a moth or something. But as I'm sort of connecting to that energy a little bit, I feel like Marcia is connecting with or seeing some other spirit animals in your house. Like I know you mentioned dogs. So I feel like there's other animals there that might be freaking her out a little bit. And sometimes they, because I know that my spirit cat comes in, and sometimes my cats are like, what is that? But by now they're used to him. But I think it might be important for you to talk to her and just say, look, if you're seeing, X, Y, and Z, you can name your animals. You don't have to be alarmed. They're, our friends from before, because sometimes they'll see spirit, and it's almost like having a stranger in the house. Like, hey,
okay.
what are you doing here?
I thought maybe that was the case just because she'll be looking at a certain thing and almost looking at me like you don't see that.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Oh,
like she'll, look in one direction and then look at me like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you see what I'm seeing? So, okay, I'll talk to her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling is going on. So I think it'd just be important for you to talk to her about that. And I've had other clients that have had similar problems. And once you sort of explain everything to them and they get used to that visitation, then they'll be like, oh, okay, now I know what's going on. But the other piece of it is you might just want to ask yourself, or, you make a book session with somebody, is why particularly now is that spirit coming? Because they feel like there's some connection with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when they come, it's like either for support, or it could be like an anniversary, or there's some reason why they're coming at that time. Like there are no coincidences, everybody. When something happens, you could explain them all away, but they all have a meaning. So if this spirit visitor has been coming now, you just might want to sort of think about it or intuitively connect to that piece about why that's happening now. And then explain that to Marcia. Because I feel like once she understands, like she's a smart kitty, but I do feel a little bit of that anxiety with her. But I feel like once she has an understanding of it, then she'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I understand what this is now. And she'll be able to settle.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And, and as I see your picture, Kristina,
yes.
Is Romeo around a lot?
Yes.
Well, and that Romeo's in spirit.
He is, but since I've been working more with, trying to be more intuitive and learn, I do feel like he's here more and more along. So maybe she's not used to that too. And I never did sit down and say to them, look, I'm trying to learn how to communicate with spirit. So you guys might start seeing things. It didn't occur to me to do that. To me, it's always like I communicate with them with the simple things, like Mari said, like, oh, you want a treat, or you're hungry, or I'll be back at this time, but never more in-depth conversation.
Right. Well, they do understand, and to them, on some level, if like you, if you don't talk about things like that, it's almost like if you suddenly had a bunch of people move into your house and didn't tell the rest of your family. Like,
right. Okay. Yeah.
Here, I don't understand. So, it's just so they, And we do forget about that. I mean, I forget sometimes too, to really sit down, because it's almost like with a little kid, you know, all right, we're going to do this now, and we're going to eat this, we'll, you know, get changed, we'll have a popsicle, whatever it is. So they have an understanding of what's happening. And once you talk to them on whatever level they process things, they're going to settle a little, because they're going to be like, oh, okay. Like,
Okay.
you know,
I'm just going to show you her real quick. Hi.
Marsha.
Say hi to the ladies. Yes. And poor Marsha. She always, Greg gets more attention because he looks like a lion. So.
Yeah. She seems like her energy is like a little lower. So
Yeah.
there's like a little bit of worry, you know, I feel like a little bit of worry with her. And obviously, you know, I'm not a vet. I cannot diagnose or
No.
prescribe. But yeah, if it continues that way, you might want to bring her in, because her energy feels very to me. And, you know, it could just be from what's going on, or it could be something underlying.
Okay. Yeah, right. That's true too. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for introducing us to her, Kristina.
Yes. No problem.
Yes.
Pretty girl.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mari. Yes. And a lot of that makes sense too. And
I hope it all makes sense, Pamela.
well, nighttime, isn't that the time when spirit comes in a lot of times?
Yeah.
It's quiet, it's peaceful.
It's my favorite time of day.
Yep.
I love nighttime.
Right. And animals, cats in particular, can see in the dark.
Yeah, they can.
Yep. Cats and dogs both can see spirit, I believe. How about you?
Absolutely. I think all animals can. Horses, for sure. I mean, the horses are, you know,
Awesome.
particularly connected to horses. They're very sensitive, and they are, you know, they pick up a lot of things. So they're always, you know, when they get spooked, people are like, oh, my horse spooks a lot. Well, you know, there's probably a lot of reasons. I mean, it could be physical things, spurs or whatever, but they're also probably seeing, you know, like 80% more of stuff than you are. So that's a big part of it, I think, because they're very sensitive.
Well, you used the term spooked, didn't you?
Well, that's like an equestrian term. You know, you're riding and your horse spooks. It's like, yes, it could be, you know, spirit or animal spirits, like where we ride. You know, it's around the woods. There's a lot of activity, either it's animal or spirit, or, you know, so that's important for any horse. And if anyone that rides horses already knows this, so.
Yeah. Anything else that you're feeling you'd like to share here before we see if there's anybody else wants to ask you anything?
I was just sort of going through my list of things, you know, I had to write them down because I can't remember everything, but I'm going to be offering, I think in September, an animal communication class online. As everybody probably is already aware of the coronavirus, I had a lot of stuff planned in person that has been a little bit postponed for now, since we have to get the virus under control, but I decided I wanted to do some animal communication stuff online. So that's going to be, I'm going to set that up for September. And if anybody in the UK happens to be watching, I'm going to be featured in a couple of magazines over there. There's one that's called Soul and Spirit Magazine, and I think that one's coming out in September. And there's another one called Spirit and Destiny Magazine, and that should be within the next couple of months. The publisher doesn't have the date yet, but I will be in both of those magazines. So pick them up in your newsstands in the UK if you're over there. So
right. And I'm gonna. May I give you a little message I'm sensing here?
Sure.
You got another book coming out? One that you're gonna do solo?
Yeah, I've been working on one. It's, you know, it takes a long time. It takes a long time.
Absolutely.
I have been working on a book, so that's probably going to be a couple of years out, but that's definitely a mix. And I have other projects that I've been working on, other media things. So yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And all my stuff is listed on my website as well, if anybody wants to check stuff out. And as soon as we control of Corona, I'll be back out on the road. I had demonstrations planned in California. I had a huge one in Boston. So we're going to get all that up and running again as soon as it is safe.
Well, that's the important thing here too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So did somebody else want to say something? I'm seeing somebody on the screen here. I'm thinking this is Carlyn. Yes?
Yeah, it's Chester and Carlyn right here. He's getting a little frisky when we turned our mic on over here. He had me down on the floor and was holding my hand. So Chester, it's interesting that Judith said that she has a Maine Coon. I used to think that Chester was a Maine Coon, but I did some research, and he didn't have. I'm sorry, I don't have good light in here. I'm gonna tell, but he's I think he's something called a Nebulong. Was a mix of a Russian blue in the 80s in Colorado. It's a very rare breed, and they all are this very distinct color. He's a very dark gray. Yeah, he's never this color.
He's beautiful. What a
Yeah.
And Chester is actually named after Chester Bennington that just passed away a few years ago. And Chester used to sit in the room and stare at Chester Bennington's poster like he knew that that was who he was named after. And he's getting a little frisky right now. And oh, there he goes. He's starting to play now. He was sleeping in the beginning, you know, at my feet. Now he's getting all frisky. So I think he knows, and the singer Chester Bennington, someone that I really looked up to, was kind of my idol and whatnot, but unfortunately he passed away. But I was just interested that Judith said something about a Maine Coon, because that's what I thought Chester was. And the Nebulong is all the same color. They're very distinct. They're not like striped or black or white like all your other different breeds. They are this color of the Russian blue, and they were mixed with the long hair. I don't think he is, you know, I don't have papers on him or anything like that, you know, from a breeder, but it was very interesting to finally find, because he's very, he doesn't like anybody else. Nobody else can touch him. I'm the only one that can pick him up, and he's very aggressive. But he's my baby, you know.
Do you have a question for Mari, or Mari got any comments?
Well, I was just going to say, I feel like you and Chester are part of the same soul family. I don't know if you're really familiar with that phenomenon, but I believe that you know, once you're born into your soul family. So whether it's human or animal, we travel in the same circle as other souls. And so when you
yes, I've lost my family. My dad passed away. My mom passed away. I don't have kids. I've never been married. I don't know my relatives or anything like that. Chester is my family. He's all I have. And,
right, absolutely. I was just saying that, like, our soul family is the people or animals that we recognize with our soul. And so when we all cross, we meet up with them again and reconnect with them. So we travel through many lifetimes with the same people and animals. They just might be in different bodies. And I feel like you and Chester have that really deep connection, because I can just see in his eyes, like he's so soulful. Like looking in his eyes is like, you know, looking into almost a black hole. He's so deep and connected, and I can feel like the two of you, like two puzzle pieces, really connect in that way. And,
yes, I've dealt with a lot of depression and mental illness, and I just keep going because of him. I tell my doctor I'm not going to leave him alone. That's the number one thing. You know, I got left alone, and I'm not going to leave him alone.
Right, exactly.
He's gotten lost a couple times and gotten right back to me.
Yeah.
You know, he goes outside. He don't ever leave. You know, we're fortunately living in a motel right now because there's a roommate that had lost a place, and he's just as happy as he can be, just wandering down the hall.
Well,
but
he's beautiful.
Definitely, but he's a very aggressive kitty. He's not a lover, except with me.
Right.
Thank you for sharing him with us. Very much.
Thank you very much.
Is there somebody else that wanted to speak? I just noticed Judith popping up a couple times.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Is that one of your pets on the wall?
Well, that's my boo. We talked about him the last time we were together. I've had cats. I've had lots of pets over the years. I had cats before I had my last two dogs, and Boo, and then I had a smaller dog. I had the smaller dog before Boo came into our lives, and Boo never cared much for the smaller dog. He was just, and then we had a step dog too, and but he was always mine, and he was the last living dog I had. But when the smaller dog, when I took him to be put to sleep, and I had put him in a laundry basket with a blanket. And so when I brought his body home, and I told Boo, my dog, I always taught my dogs the word gone, so they would know food was gone, toy was gone, whatever was gone. And so they would like walk away because they knew something was gone. Yeah. So when I brought Shelton home in the basket after he had been put to sleep, and I brought it in and put the basket on the floor, and I sat down by the basket, and Boo came, and I said, Shelton's gone. And Boo laid down beside the basket and paid attention. It was as if he was saying goodbye. I thought he might dance a jig because Shelton was gone, and then it would be just us. But it was so respectful and so quiet. I had never seen this behavior in Boo before. And he was acknowledging in his way, understanding that Shelton had left the earthly plane. I don't know if he had understanding of Shelton going on in spirit, but he acknowledged his passing out of the body, and that he was no longer in that body. And it was very obvious. This guy, though, he was such a special and precious dog, and it was. I told Pamela Marie that he's been gone a little over 2 years now, but he has been with me every day. Now it's not as outstanding to me now as every day for a while he was with me. Every day. And when I'm on the computer here, like now I have a desktop, he's always right here by me. And his big head is right here. Because he would always, if I was on the computer too much, he would put the big paw up here and he'd say, that's enough. That's enough. And I know a lot of pets will do that. They'll let you know when that's enough. Cats are really good about walking on the field to let you know.
They are. They sit outside and paw at the door, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful story. And, you know, just connecting to Boo's energy. Like, I feel like he was more human than he was dog, you know? I can definitely feel that from him. And I know you guys had a very special relationship.
Oh, we did. He was my guy, definitely. And I let him know he was my guy. And I know he didn't like for me to leave the house, but there were times I had to go. We had our little ritual with the treats. And this was a firm ritual that we had every time. And I would let him know I'll be back, and I would put treats down for him. And where normally he was a very slow, methodical eater, he would take care of those treats and watch me through the window as I left.
Yeah.
He had his own little table, and he would watch me through the window, and he would still be looking, and I swear he never moved. He would still be there when I returned. There he would be. You would see that little head a big head in the window watching.
It's like a love story, you know, as you're talking, it's like a love story. So really, really beautiful, really beautiful. Yeah, and I'm glad that you realize that he's still with you, because a lot of people, I'll tell that too, and they'll be like, oh, I don't know, I never see them. So even though I can feel they're still with them, it's really great that you're able to feel that he's with you. And that does kind of wax and wane a little bit. Sometimes them more, and sometimes we'll feel them less. Like they're not with us 24/7, but they are there. And for you to know that and have that comfort is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Judith, thank you for sharing that.
You're
Thank
most
you.
welcome.
And
I've
thank you,
enjoyed all the
Molly.
stories. Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
We're just about out of time. Is there anybody else on board here that didn't get to say something? I think we got the whole group.
I think so.
Small but powerful. How's that sound?
Oh,
Okay.
very powerful.
So Maury Cartagenova from the outside of Boston, Massachusetts, is a psychic medium, animal communicator, author. Anything else I want to put on that list?
Finder of lost pets.
Absolutely. Pet detective, should we say? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I love, my goal in all of this work is to help people. And I love to help people connect to spirit and to connect to their animals through spirit. So whenever I start my session, I always say, I'm here for you. Whatever is going to help you process everything, whether it's a loved one or animal passing or behavioral issue. I'm for my clients, and that's why I do the work, because I want to help people feel better.
Wonderful. And your website again is?
Mediummari.com. It's mediummari.com.
Perfect. And they can contact you there for any of your services, your classes, anything you're up to. They get to know you a little better. Look to see if you're doing any other broadcasts anywhere at any time. And I know you enjoy doing these kind of opportunities to connect with other people and to share your gifts. So
absolutely. And yeah, thank you, Pamela, for having me on. It's been great connecting with everybody and talking about what we do and helping animals connect to people.
Thank you, Maury.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Nice to meet all you ladies and your beautiful furry friends.
Absolutely. So everyone, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And let's see, next week, I'm just going to give a few quick announcements before I close. All right, on Love Never Dies, I will be doing my monthly Messages of Love from Heaven, where I will be doing a mediumship demonstration with those who show up. So you come on board, you'll get a message, hopefully. And that's the 29th, Wednesday the 29th on Love Never Dies. The 30th for this particular show, the Pet Detectives radio show, right now it's being determined. And I like it because I chuckle, because every time I say that, I'm finishing up a show, all of a sudden Spirit comes in with some sort of ideas for me afterwards. And I'm so grateful because they know who will fit for these shows. And so anyway, I want to thank you all for being here. And Maury, we'll have you on again another time at some point, all right? And big hugs to you, dear. We've never officially met, but we've been in each other's space, should we say, numerous times, and we'll continue to do that. So anyway, thank you.
Virtual hugs to you from, across the country. And
right. And one more quick message for everybody here is, in the next couple hours, this video, this recording will be uploaded on YouTube. And if people are looking for it, either I'll post a link on Facebook, my Facebook page. I'll send you the link to Maury, so you have it to share with other people. Also, if you want to go to Pamela Marie Edmunds, my channel name, Pamela Marie Edmunds. And if you like what you see there, please subscribe. That way you get a message when new uploads have been done, new recordings are there, and very likely there'll be something to be interested in listening to. So anyway, be safe, be well, and bless all of you. Thank you for being here. Bye, Mari. Bye, everybody else. God bless.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Closing out here now. Bye, and bye all the animals.
Bye,
All
thank you, everybody.
the kitties. Yep.